Thank you. Joining us now is economist for the American Institute for Economic Research, Peter C. Earle, and economic strategist Francis Stacy. All right, Peter, at the very beginning of this block, we were talking about Fed Chair Jerome Powell specifically stating his concern about tariffs, implying that American prices will go up, that means there could be a recession, inflation goes up, but also very different opinions depending on which economic philosophy someone has in mind. What's yours? What do you think about what he said?
Well, the Fed's is as aware of uncertainty in the economy as the rest of us, and they're acknowledging that even in normal times, it's hard to predict what's going to happen. But with the current, policies being put in place, it's even more difficult. My personal view is tariffs are going to make prices rise. The question is how much and for how long. And the other thing is that, how long tariffs are on is going to determine the exact rate of slowing growth. So, it's all going to come down to nuance, right? How long tariffs are on for, how high prices go and all that. So I find myself like the Fed simply wanted to say things are very uncertain right now. We're going to have to take things one step at a time.
Peter, I would say you're right. It comes down to nuance. He handed Biden a 1.4% inflation rate after his 4 years in office the first time around. So, Francis, don't you think President Trump and his administration are thinking about the nuanceical things about this so they don't exacerbate inflation?
Yeah, they truly are. There are so many things going on here, but I can tell you that the Fed is more worried about growth than they are about inflation. How do I know that? They slowed the runoff of their balance sheet. The way to adjust for inflation or growth is to either add liquidity to the system or remove liquidity from the system. So now they were removing liquidity from the system to treat inflation, and now they're removing liquidity at a much slower pace when it comes to Treasuries. So that tells me they're more worried about growth. That makes sense. We're going to have fiscal cuts. We don't know the numbers yet. As far as prices going up with tariffs, there are so many things happening at once. First of all, when you lay off this public sector with the idea that they're going to get private sector jobs, they have their, interim that they're going to keep probably spending, but I don't know how quickly they're going to get private sector jobs. So if that demand is diminished in the interim, that's going to offset the price hikes from tariffs, because then now you're going to have to adjust for slowing growth and demand. So what Trump is doing is he's lowering the fiscal spending, so we're no longer drunk on public funds anymore. He doesn't mind if the stock market corrects a little bit, though it hasn't taken out the September low, because that's going to flood liquidity into the bond markets. That's going to lower rates. Lowering rates benefits the lower half of America. And then just as that all gets baked into the cake, and then we see how many countries capitulate on tariffs. We're seeing it already. And then he's going to deregulate. He's probably going to say these tax cuts are going to remain, and he's going to try to cut taxes even more, which are expenses that are not going to be put through. So this cake is not even an eighth baked yet.
So what you're saying, there's a lot to this.
Yeah. But he has a plan.
Francis, sounds like the cake batter is still being made, but there's very much a recipe. I think that's what we're going with to continue your metaphor.
This is the stage where I eat the brownie batter.
I was thinking of me also
involved.
dipping. Yeah. All right. We're gonna. All right. Now I'm hungry. All right, Francis and Peter, thanks for joining us. Thanks.